Hi, I'm MK Williams. I'm an author and independent publisher. I love sharing my insights about all things self-publishing with you. And please be sure to hit subscribe on today's video. It is very different from my usual videos. So usually I'm here to share all things self-publishing, making a career of being an author, and being a mompreneur with you. And this past summer, I did a video with my husband going over my mid-year review of like how things were going for the business of as an author. And so we're actually going to be doing this 2022 goal setting video. We did the original video. People said, this is great. We want more of this. So I said, okay. And Jason said,
what's next? Let's do it. So,
I think you might have groaned a bit first, but yeah.
Yeah, so 6 months has passed since then, and I'm excited to be here, excited to be back, and excited to share this with your audience.
I'm just excited that you're back on the channel. This is fun.
It is fun.
Yeah, it is good.
It's Tuesday night. What else are we going to do on a Tuesday
night?
So.
Well, I have to say we're being a super YouTube couple because you're wearing your Yes Theory shirt.
Mm-hmm. Seek discomfort.
Yes. I'm wearing my Blogalates Pop Flex pants that I got. We're recording this for YouTube, and then after this, we'll probably watch some like Try Guys.
Probably.
Or Karen Nate.
Probably,
yeah. One of the two.
Inspirational.
Yeah. So the whole point of the mid-year review video that we did was a good chance for us to review, obviously what was going on, but it was a chance to kind of give people a good view into like how we're evaluating the business. We do our weekly business discussions and things like that, and that's what helped my business. And I said, well, it'd be great if I could like bottle up Jason and help other authors. And so I said, wait, I can. And so we're doing this the beginning of the year goal setting now, but I would say if you're coming to this video middle of the year, it's totally fine. You can set your goals whenever you would like to. You can do that. And so just to keep in mind, obviously, my goals are going to be different than your goals. They're different for each person based on the business you want, but hopefully some of the structure of how we're having this discussion and some of the things we're evaluating, you can then take that and evaluate that for your own author business and what you're aiming to have. So, yeah.
So I know we came in with a few notes. I have a few, and you came with some notes as well.
I did.
So what did you do in preparation for this meeting?
I did so many things. So I kind of wrote down my thoughts for 2022. And so I've done in the past few years, like a video to start the year that kind of talks about where I am as far as going wide with my books and kind of showing the value of taking my books wide, really emphasizing the wide strategy. And so, when I first did this, it was 2019, like 49% of my book royalties came from Amazon, from KDP and ACX. In 2020, it was 53%. So it was, still around that half. This year, now obviously there's still some payments to come in, but it's about 42%. So I thought I'm actually happy in that decrease because that means all my other lines of business are doing better as far as selling my books. And I've actually seen a nominal increase in my royalties as well. So it's not just, oh, well, it's because my royalties just dropped off. That's why they're a lower percentage. No, like the amount I've earned, the amount I've received this year, as well as what's been earned that will be paid out next year, is higher. And then KDP is a smaller portion. So that means that my other retailers are doing well. So I kind of want to just put that out there as a quick recap for those who follow and wait for that number every year. I don't know how many of you there are, but that was one of the things I did to prepare. And I also kind of looked at, I feel like if I were giving advice to someone on what to do for their goals, for their business, I would say they need to look at the numbers, right? They need to look at their metrics. They need to maybe set some financial goals. But the irony is that we're heading into another year where the financial goals are just a huge question mark. So 2019, going into 2019, we knew that I was going to leave my full-time corporate job. We knew that there was a business there, but we weren't treating it like a business. So that's when we started these weekly discussions. And so the thought was like, I don't know, like money, like maybe we knew it not as much as my salary at the time because I was making a good salary, but we're like, it has to be something. So it was a big question mark. Like it was kind of a loose, well, maybe this, maybe that financial goal. Going into 2020, I think we had a better idea of like, hey, so what I did from June through December of 2019, that was my full time with my business. We're like, well, let's extrapolate that out. Maybe that would be a good amount. And I also put some really pie in the sky numbers of like, I want to have this many book sales. I want to have this. And you were like, you would have to like have like a 1,000% increase in your book royalties. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And kind of setting a really pie in the sky goal, knowing that I wouldn't hit it, but like, being ambitious for it. And then 2021 came around and we had our baby. And so the goal was just like, keep the baby alive. If the business survives, the business survives. And that was something that drove us doing that mid-year video. Was like, I was like, oh, I'm still able to do the business. So we should maybe set some goals. And so I feel like this year going into 2022, you know, she's awake more, she's active more. And so this past year, you know, with a newborn, with a baby, like they sleep a lot. And so we were able to trade off a lot more with things. Whereas now, return to office, you just won't be home to kind of help with some of the things around the house. So that's going to fall to me more. And so there's a potential, this like cliff that we're facing of like, how much time will I have? So how much will I actually earn? And so we're kind of facing this like big question mark again for financial goals. So I feel like I'm not going to be practicing what I would be preaching. Like if somebody came to me, I'd be like, well, what would you like to earn? Like what's realistic? What did you earn this year? You know, what are your metrics as far as the different lines of your business? Like what's reasonable growth? What's a reasonable decline if there's something that needs to go down? I kind of figure it out from there and then have some stretch goals. So I'm not doing that though, because we've had extensive talks about that. So that was kind of where I wanted to start.
Okay.
With the lack of financial goals.
Right.
For the business.
Well, and so much of those financial results are not within your control. And I know I'm always harping on the internal locus of control versus external locus of control. And you can create the best book, but it may not reach the audience as you expect it to. And so, so much of it's out of your control. You do the best book you can, you market the heck out of it, but you can't control the outcome. You can only, the market will dictate the price, so you can only charge so much. Profits can be a little slim in the book business, a little bit slim. So it's also, where does the financial results and outcome, how much are you dependent on that? And for every person in the audience, it's going to be different. Yeah. If you're relying on that for your income, then you might not write the exact book that you want to write. You might want to write the book that'll sell.
Yeah. And at that point, they'd probably be adding on like more courses, more patronage, like they would have more lines of business. And if they're relying on that income, then they probably have that availability of 40 plus hours a week to dedicate to it. Whereas we're kind of facing the time constraint of I'm having every day, like a little bit less time, a little bit less time, a little bit less time. And for us, like we've had the conversation of like, and we even had this conversation beyond the financial of like, if it just got too stressful of trying to juggle everything for me to have the business, for you to feel like you are fulfilled as a person outside of work and have time with our baby girl, I was like, hands down, like you and our baby girl, like they're the priority. And like, I would shut the business down in a heartbeat. It would break my heart to do it. But like, I've said this so much this past year, but like I built it once, I could build it again.
Right.
And that gives me some confidence that like, we don't need this income. Like your parents, you know, survived on one income, like that they made a point to do that. So that way, you know, your mom could be there and if she needed to step away from teaching, she could, and things like that. And I want us to continue to live like that, where we are living off of one income. And then hopefully what I'm producing is able to go for, if we want to take trips, if we want to, you know, have extra investments, if we want to save for college for her and like all those things, you know, I don't see it as just like, oh, like we don't need it. Like, but it's nice to know that like, if things got too stressful, that was a lever we could pull. I'm not planning to, guys, don't worry. But it gives me a bit of relief that it's not a requirement. And I know that's not the case for a lot of people out there. So I would say if it is the case, then obviously you need to get comfortable with Excel and figure that out. So yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So we don't have financial goals here.
We do not. So what I did is I kind of looked at what going into 2021, I wrote down every potential line of business I could have. And it was a very long list. And I was like, okay, how can I start to do things for each of these? And so what I realized going into this year is that instead of spreading myself too thin across a bunch of things, it's really better just to focus on a few items. And so the things I'm focusing on in 2022 are my books, either my fiction or my nonfiction, and the YouTube channel. And that obviously leaves this third item, which is like the consults that I do and the clients that I take on, and people watching this who may be clients or authors published by one of my clients and be like, wait, what? And so I've started to have some discussions with my largest client of kind of like, this isn't sustainable. You know, I can produce the books or I can market the books or I can go scout you new authors, but like I can't do all three. And what I've said is like, I'm going to produce the books that we currently have on deck. I'm going to give it everything I have. But like, if you have the rest of your organization that's set up with marketing, then like you need to do the marketing. Like just knowing where my availability is, my time level is, wanting to not totally let the rest of the business fall off, but wanting to set realistic expectations there. I haven't signed new clients in a while. I was thinking this as no new long-term clients. I have the consults. I think those have been going well, where I still get that fulfillment of I'm helping people, I'm connecting with authors one-on-one, I'm giving them the advice they need right when they need it. But I'm committed to like the prep work, the call, and then a little bit of follow-up. And I do like to follow up beyond that, but I'm not committed to it. Whereas with the long-term clients, things just drag on in an awesome way. If they're watching. But it just go on a lot longer sometimes than I would always anticipate that it would. So kind of not focusing as much on the clients. The consults are still available. I don't think I'm going to promote them as much. Maybe in a month I'll be like, I haven't had a consult in a while. Need to do that. But I think, and we even talked about the price increase for it, which I was so hesitant to do for a while. And it actually took, two things. I had 3 clients in a row who were like, you did not charge me enough. You're doing more work than I realized you were doing. I did not realize how much work this was. I'm glad I hired you. You did not charge me enough. I am just sending you more money. Like this, like I feel bad at the amount I paid you versus the amount you're doing. And it was obviously great to have clients who did that, and they weren't just independently wealthy rolling in dough people. They were working hard and they were on a budget, and it did feel validating. But then I think it also made me feel comfortable. Like it's okay if I increase my prices on my consults a little bit to reflect the value I'm giving, but also my time is becoming more scarce. So it was kind of a like, okay, you're allowed to do this. So with that, I'm okay if I see fewer consults this year. And I know I told you the story about I went to a conference for this business. It's called Training Peaks. It's like a run triathlon training software. You can put everything into it. And this guy had a run shop, and people kept coming in and asking him for like a written training plan for like training for a 5K, a marathon, things like that. And he would write it down. And he found he was spending so much of his time doing that versus, like running his run shop and his store, that he was like, okay, well, I'm going to charge people for it, because then hopefully people will just stop asking and I can get back to my business. And then people kept asking, and he was like, okay, I'm going to increase the price. And then it became a full business. And so that's where I feel when it was like I'm overloaded, that's a sign that I was like, I need to increase my prices then so I can right size the amount of time being taken up. So the big things I will be focusing on, that's all to say, are books and YouTube. Helping people individually as clients and consults will be still available, but not the main focus.
So that's good. So you pivoted kind of throughout the year, but you still stayed true to your core focus.
Yes.
And then the same thing with the runner. He had his core focus, his niche. He focused in, and just like an airplane is off track like 90% of the way on their way to their destination, but they arrive at the destination. So it's almost like it doesn't matter as much how you get there, as long as you've taken your time, such as this, to reflect upon what is that end destination that you actually want to hit and achieve. And then you can pivot throughout in order to reach that end destination. And I expect after this conversation, you'll have 5 takeaways. And then 2 weeks from now, they'll be completely different.
Probably. And so much is evolving. And I think that's what's helped me to stay centered is to not be so swayed by like the big thing of the moment. Like I am constantly thinking of things. So like when opportunities do present themselves, I'm like, oh, I've kind of been thinking of that tied into it. And maybe it's because I'm manifesting, or used to be manifesting more when I have more time. But yeah, I think and it also helps that we do talk it through. So I would say if you feel like your author business is a little astray, find somebody you can talk to regularly about it, connect one-on-one with a friend. I have a membership that's available on the channel where like I want to be cultivating these conversations. Like it literally just started like last week. So I want to be there for people in the way that we've been there for each other to kind of like talk through these things, because a big change in strategy for a business should not just be a whim. It should be a thought out, discussed item. So yes.
And I know several people have mentioned this, but we attribute it to JD Roth. And he says, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Our time, especially your time, is so limited. Like you have to be extremely, extremely selective. Just like those long-term clients, they'll take up as much time as you're willing to give them. So kind of having that like niche focus on specific what you want to, hone in on, go deep on it. and then saying no to everything else.
Yeah, yeah. And I think with just leaving the books and the YouTube channel, I'm still able to serve people in the way that I've really come to enjoy. And like I go back to it where I tell that story of like how I got started with self-publishing, and like I never want to be that cranky, grumpy, seasoned veteran who's not there to help people, but at the same time I do need to protect my time so I can write more books. So I'm working on it. Yeah.
Oh, your passion for helping others. I love seeing it when you talk with a consultation and you're like, they're doing this book and I'm so excited for them and it's going to be such a good book when it comes out. And I love to see that, just the way you light up when it comes to the consultations and helping others.
Thank you. It does give me more energy than it takes from me, which is really nice. And that's where I know like I'm in my zone of genius with that. Yeah, it does take extra time, and like I told you, I have like 6 slots every week for consults, and if they were all filled, then I would probably be like, something's not right with the balance. But I would also, it'd be fun. It would be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So then I took like, okay, so for books and YouTube, I broke down like my nonfiction books and my fiction books. Some arbitrary goals for YouTube, and then kind of like finishing off some client stuff with open projects, just like knowing they're there, they have to get done. There will be energy spent, especially in Q1 and into Q2 on getting these books out, like really heavy Q1 and Q2 for these, but then the end of the year should be a bit quieter. So for my books, so breaking it down, the author your ambition side, the nonfiction side, knowing I'm just going to be going and doing a refresh of like self-publishing for the first time author, book marketing for the first time author, finally writing the nonfiction version. So I have how to write your first novel, and I wanted to do how to write your first nonfiction book, and I realized that was almost too big of a task. And I think I had some thoughts actually today on how to reframe it when I was running. Of like, maybe it's just like the biggest mistakes that I see content creators make when they go to pivot from like being a blogger to an author or podcaster to an author. And so I think I'm going to reframe that book, but get the nonfiction one done. And then taking, because I have all the worksheets there, building the workbook. Obviously it's going to have more than just the worksheets from the other ones. And then being able to do bundles of like, here's the nonfiction bundle, here's a fiction bundle, here's everything. And maybe do some like limited run print bundles where I would order things and like mail it out and make it really nice and fancy to be like, here's everything you need. Like you have your workbook, you have everything for me to write the book and make it happen. Go.
Author Your Ambition coffee mugs also available.
Yes. Thank you for plugging the merch, Jason.
Of course.
Yes. Got notebooks, got coffee mugs. Y'all
Heavy
like
consumers on this end.
That's okay. If you want to see other merchandise and what I have available, let me know in the comments. If there's something you'd be like, if you offered XYZ, I would love it. Like, I've been thinking, I have some phrases I use, like, pack your patience. Yeah, pack your patience. I'm like, should I make little, like, luggage tags for people that say, pack your patience?
I've never heard you say that.
I say it all the time in my videos. Especially when I have to get my sassy videos.
Okay. Pack your patience.
Pack your patience. Pack your patience. Yeah, so so that's quite a few projects for 6 projects for Author Your Ambition, but some are just like going through, revising, and then bundling. So that's quite a bit there. And then for my fiction books, so the Alpha Nina's launching. Yay!
Woohoo! It's so good.
I'm so excited. So then obviously wanting to write getting through the second draft for the next book in this series, so the Feminina 3. So trying to get the first and second draft like really far with that. I think it might be too ambitious to say it would be published in 2022, just because I like that I've taken my time with each draft. Like I am confident in the books when they come out, that they're good. So if I can get through draft 2 and into editing by the end of the year, I'll be happy. And then while that editing's happening, working on draft 1 for the 4th book. I think I'm more productive when it's like I'm already in the mindset versus like going all the way with just book 3 and then being like, what happened? Don't have to write book 4. So trying to do that. So those are my goals there.
So how do you strike the balance between your fiction and nonfiction then? Because you have 7 AYA. Your fictions were going to be extremely longer in length and bigger projects. So how do you decide, or is it just whatever creativity is flowing at that moment that you dedicate the time?
That's a great question. So if you asked me this in 2019, I would say I'm making sure to like move move like inch forward on each book project every day. Like, so maybe it's 1,000 in the fiction one day and only 1,000 words in the fiction one day, maybe a couple hundred words in the nonfiction one day, or maybe it's like 2,000 in the nonfiction one day. And I just literally opened the fiction and I was like, I'm just gonna move this here, much smaller. But I was always trying to like inch forward every day, like that little bit of like of attrition there. Since our daughter's been born, the writing has not been a habit. Like, it's definitely a habit that has been fully broken, and that's where I'm hoping, and I think I need to take that word out of my vocabulary because then it's just not happening. But my aim is to actually get into a daily writing habit again, to kind of say, hey, like, this needs to happen. And whether it's, okay, that first nap period every day while she's taking 2 naps still is writing, no matter what happens. Like, doesn't matter the emails in my inbox, doesn't matter all the other things going on, like, that first period is for writing. And then the second nap period is when other work gets done. Of course, that means I'm not working out, probably not showering, probably doing other things I need to do while she's napping. So I need to find a better way to balance that. And while she's still not sleeping through the night, it's really hard to justify, like, oh, I'll just get up early and write. Like, no.
Sleep. Yeah.
Sleep. And so I think we'll probably work throughout the year to find something that works as her sleep schedule continues to evolve. Because, yeah, when she drops to 1 nap, then that's going to kind of throw a wrench in that plan. But I know I need to be adaptable, but I need to get back into the writing habit.
Okay.
Because it's not there. But usually this past year, for the things that got done, like I wrote Going Wide this past year. Like, it did not exist this time last year. It was not even an idea this time last year. And I made it happen because I was so fired up and excited for writing it. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, I hope that answered your question.
Yes. One side note, you mentioned the idea came to you while running. So, showers and running, it's anytime you're getting away from the business is when those ideas come and generate. So, I know I hear if you spend at least 1 day out of every 7 to just sit and contemplate and rest and reflect, you might actually come up with these more genuine, bigger ideas to help work on the business, not in the business, which I know was previously discussed.
Yes. Okay. And I think I just need to be better about that. I think I'm so focused on not letting work spill into our evenings, but then I'm okay with letting it spill into the weekends. And I think that's what I need to be better about, of truly saying, like, no, like, this is a true rest day. And even if my rest is just from the business and I'm still doing laundry and like getting other stuff done around here and organized,
right?
You know, okay. It's so tempting just to get more things off the checklist, though.
It is.
It is. Okay. And then for YouTube, I kind of have some arbitrary goals. So I'm hopefully, by the time this video comes out, I'm going to be at 4,000 subscribers, which is crazy because I started 2021 just having hit 1,000 subscribers. And it took me 2.5 years to get there.
Right.
So it took me 2.5 years to get the first 1,000 subscribers. In the past 12 months, I've gotten almost 3,000 subscribers. So for anybody who's watching, who's also trying to launch a YouTube channel for their author business, like, it takes time, but when it gets rolling, it gets rolling. So, like, have patience. Like, I did not just get 3,000 subscribers. Like, like, I put a lot of effort into it. It took a long time. It's okay.
A very smart woman told me, pack your patience.
And she just told you, because you apparently haven't heard me say it before.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, so I'm hoping January 1st comes around and I'm at that 4,000. I'm like 40 something away. So I'm hoping to start the year at 4,000 subscribers and end with 10,000.
Okay. That's a nice tangible number.
Yes. And then right now my ad revenue is like a couple $100s a month, which really, it's nice to have that extra. I'm hoping to like reinvest it back into the channel, and maybe like it can fund me like trying out some services that are there for authors, and like then I can be unbiased. It's like, hey, I put the money in there, and like I don't have a relationship with them, so if I don't like it, I can be honest and like tell people what's what for their money. But I think one of the things we've talked about, and we'll get to this later with like asking for help in outsourcing, is like I looked at the prices that like other video creators, author tuber creators were using to like just have somebody edit the videos. And like one of the prices like $400 a video, and I was like, I put out like 6 videos a month. I make a couple $100s in ad revenue, and like my videos, except for this one, are usually super short. So the idea of spending $400 on one video when I don't even make that much in a month that would have to cover 6 videos, I'm like, no. So I would like to have maybe at least $1,000 coming in a month of revenue, which I know is super arbitrary and should be all about value, but like I think that would compensate me for the time and effort and hopefully allow me to offload some tasks either for YouTube or maybe reinvest that elsewhere in the business, so I can have more time to do the stuff for YouTube. And then I launched the memberships. Like I literally just launched it. So I have 2 members right now, which is exciting. Awesome. And so I mean, I don't know how unmanageable it's going to get. I think I set realistic things that I could deliver on that still provide quality. I was like, maybe 100 members, like that would be a nice goal for the end of the year. But I still want it to feel really connected. So I don't want it to get too big too fast either.
Now, do certain people only need the membership for a limited amount of time? Like you write your book, you publish your book, you market your book, but maybe your dream was only to publish one book.
Potentially. And so so this idea came from like, the memberships are something that people offer and they don't have to be on YouTube. So I chose the channel membership that's offered through YouTube, where it's just kind of like a sponsorship for the channel, or you get exclusive videos that are on the channel. It's just YouTube specific. And so my thought was, let me start here with something that's already built in. And if there's the demand and it's growing, to offer it off YouTube and make it a larger thing. The thought being that it could be something that is just needed for that limited time. I was even talking with one of our friends about that, where it could be like 6-month cohorts. We're like, hey, for these 6 months, we're going to get your book from like what you're saying is your final draft. Is it your final draft? To published out the door. Or like, hey, like we're starting from new concept, new idea, and we're all going to hit these deadlines together and go for just a year, and it would only be needed for like that limited time. I've thought about that. But I also know like there are a lot of authors who would want to stay in and be like, no, I've done this before. And like, if there are more senior or seasoned people in there, could they also be helping to answer questions when I'm not available 24/7, and kind of making it more of that community. And that's one thing I've seen when I've researched looking up memberships and like starting one. It's like, it really needs to be about community. And that's why I've been hesitant to start one, because I don't know if I can foster that right now. But I think, so bringing that back around. So the YouTube one, hopefully I'm constantly providing good content. And my aim is that within the YouTube channel membership, the content I'm providing is for more of like the second, third time authors, where they're making it more of a business. So they potentially would want to continue to come back and learn new things, learn more things, versus the one-time author who's like, I just wanted to check the box. Like they may not care to do that, in which case they may want to like support the channel with like a buy me a coffee or something like that. Whereas somebody who is like, no, like I'm hoping to make this my business, I want to go full time, they might want to do the channel membership to support the channel.
Okay, I see.
Did that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot more value added, a lot more focus on the business than just how to publish. They can go to your books for those resources.
Yeah.
This is how to make your book a success, how to make your book business a success.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think to some extent, like owning up to like, I don't know everything, but like, you know, hopefully I can help the people who are behind me get to the next level.
Right.
Yeah. And so so going into some of the stuff with YouTube and like the goal that I mentioned, the 10,000 followers, and kind of like, I feel like when we were here last year, obviously not on camera talking about these goals, I kept saying like, I want to find like a mastermind or a community of like other authors who are on YouTube, who are trying to do what I'm doing. Because there's the AuthorTubers Facebook group. And I felt like when I first joined, I was like, oh, this will be a great place to like connect. And it was really just, you know, and now it's a lot of people just dropping their links like, hey, look at me. And like I posted about doing a collaboration, and I was like, this is what it's supposed to be about. And I got a few answers, and I was like, well, that's the whole point. We're supposed to work together. And so what I wanted to find was like people ahead of me, people who had really mastered YouTube, people who were like in the same vertical, like, can this be done? And so I had connected with one woman who had an amazing channel, and she went on hiatus, and I was like, I'm really excited for you. Like, you're living my dream of just like walking away and on hiatus and things are going well. I was like, but I can't like mastermind with you now. And so it was about March of last year that somebody commented on one of my videos, and they tagged Dale, self-publishing with Dale. And then Dale and I connected offline, and like, it's been really great to work with him, to see like what he's built and know like, okay, well, I could build something like that. Obviously my own voice, my own style, like my own priorities and things like that. But like, it's been really helpful to have that. So I do see the value in having that mastermind, like that digital mentorship with other people. And that's been like huge. Like I was able to connect with Keith, Keith Wheeler Books, connected more with Maddie over at the Indie Author. So I feel like this past year I built more of like a community of like-minded authors, and that was a big pivot too from 2020 to 2021 was we were spending so much time and energy and like building our community in the FI space, which is great. Right. But I was like, I'm barking up the wrong trees. Like nobody's going to buy my fiction books in this community except for a handful of people who like that. Like nobody's going to even look at my self-publishing stuff because not everybody in this community wants to do that. Like I was like, I need to be I need to be barking up the right trees. And I think this year I was like, okay, I'm fostering community in the indie author community, and that felt really good. I'm going to come back to that in a bit.
About potential more partnerships or?
About the word community.
About community, okay.
Yes.
But maybe fostering additional partnerships in addition to what you've done here in 2021 would be.
Exactly. And knowing that like there's going to be more people that I don't know who are that next level who I want to look up to. There's other people who are probably doing things better than I'm currently doing that I would like to connect with, and like maybe they're at the same level of me and they're looking for growth. And then hopefully, you know, people who are just starting out and maybe they're looking at my channel and they're like, whoa, that's amazing, and I'm like, me? You think I'm okay? But like helping them get to at least where I am, right? And so, but also like seeing how they can do it hopefully faster and be like, oh, I didn't know about that. And like learning from them too. So I am looking forward to fostering that kind of a community.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, and then obviously I have for just my client stuff, just like what needs to get done. There's no new ambitious thing on there. These stickies are already on the wall.
Right. The existing long-term clients. Yes.
Will be done. So yes. Okay. So that's kind of what I prepped as far as my goals, and then I did take the time to kind of build out by month. So I wanted to look at, and again, this is an idea that came to me while running. So for each month, what am I creating? What am I revising? And then what am I shipping? What am I finishing? And so kind of looking at each month, kind of saying like, okay, like January, I'll be creating the first draft for the third book in the Feminina series. I'll be revising the Alpha Nina audiobook, and I'll be shipping like, okay, Alpha Nina pre-order launch for one of my clients, and like a video project that's been going on for a while. And so kind of looking at it, and so I was like, oh, January is busy, and then February I was like, I'm not shipping anything in February, this is all wrong. And I was like, no, it's fine because I'm creating and I'm refining, and like it's okay if I don't have something in each of these buckets every month, and it's okay if each of these buckets aren't like bursting full every month, like they shouldn't be. So I can realistically see like that's a realistic list of what I think I can accomplish. And then February, I think that's realistic as well, because like there are some unknowns with the schedule and going from there. So I do think this is going to help me just to say like, nope, this is what I'm creating this month. This is what I'm refining this month. And this is what I'm shipping this month. And that's it.
Shipping mean anything that's being published,
finished,
marketed,
pushed out to market.
Right.
So like a pre-order launch, I'm putting there as shipping, but then like when the actual book goes and is released, I'm also putting it there too.
So you've created an entire roadmap for each of those different categories that you previously discussed by month.
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
Perfect.
We'll see how close it matches at the end of the year. We can plan all we want. So yeah, so that's what I did, and then I kind of have like some questions that I was like ruminating on as I was going through this. So like, what's achievable and realistic? And I think that roadmap is realistic. I think part of me, like that really ambitious part of me, is like, no, you can do it all in 1 month. Go, go, go. But it's like old me, yeah, would like we would get up like 6:50 just naturally after a wonderful full night of sleep. I'd be like, well, you can go to work whenever you want. I'm ready to work, you know? And like, I would just literally sit and work sometimes till 10 and be like, oh, I haven't eaten anything, you know? And like, have a snack, like, okay, like go back to work, meet you to work out in the middle of the day, come back home, work. Weekends, I'd be like, oh, are you watching football? I'm just going to work while I'm sitting next to you.
Why don't you take a nap? And
yeah, okay, I'll just get some work done. Like, and I love the work that I do. Like, I love writing these books. I love what I've created. But I used to have all this time to fill with it. And I think it's me starting to accept that, like, I don't have that unlimited time. And it's really hard for me to accept that I can't just do everything all at once.
But as you mentioned before, you can ramp it back up.
I can.
You can ramp it
absolutely ramp it back up. So yeah, I looked at what was achievable or realistic. And then I also framed it with like, what would I be disappointed if it wasn't done by the end of this year? Like, what would I truly be like at the end of 2022 if XYZ is not done? I'll be a little disappointed. And so some of that was like, yeah, I have these arbitrary numbers I want to hit on YouTube, but like if I end the year with like 8,000 followers, I'll be like, that's pretty good. I doubled it. That's pretty good. But I think knowing like just getting a second edition out of some books, I'm like, I just want to have to read it and revise it. Like, yes, there's work that goes into it, but a lot of that work's been done. Things that like, if I don't get distracted, if I don't take on more than I can chew client-wise or consult-wise, I think this is realistic. And so I kind of figured out, like, what would I be disappointed? Like, there's other fiction projects that I want to work on, but I was kind of like, I think I'll be disappointed if I'm not further along in the Feminina series to close that out so then I can go and play and have fun with my other projects. Then I asked myself, where can I show up consistently in all caps? Like, instead of me, and this is something that I go back to a lot, but like, the thing that I can control with my book sales is like I can control how often I'm showing up on the different social media channels, just promoting it and mentioning the books and things like that. And I tell people all the time, like, you have to be consistent. And guess what I don't do? I just haven't had 2 seconds to figure out the new Facebook Creator Studio crap, like how they want you to schedule things. I'm like, this is the worst interface ever. Dear Mark Zuckerberg, fix it. It's the worst. But that's how you have to schedule things for like Facebook and Instagram. And I'm like, it pains my soul. It hurts my soul deep down to try and figure it out. And so I'm like, okay, well then I just don't post there.
Right.
And then Twitter, I know I can schedule things, and so I do that. But then like I got really ambitious with like going wide. I scheduled things out for like 2 months. It was great.
How long ago was that?
November 2nd is when it ended.
Okay.
It's been a bit. And so I like realized like it's hard for me to show up there consistently. I can show up on YouTube consistently because I'm posting the videos, I'm doing that, and so that's what I'm going to commit to. I still know I need to have these other touch points out there, and I will do that. But yeah, if it's not consistent, I have to let it go. Yeah.
And I know you have to continuously market your book, but how do you know the return that you get, and especially on the time investment that you put into these things that you're not putting the time investment into right now, but you want to?
I don't know. I think if I schedule some things for January and we see sales go up, then we'll know.
There we go. We'll let you know how it goes.
I'm just A/B testing.
Yes.
That's what this is. Totally intentional. And then I have on here, like, how do I need to restructure my routines, my time to meet these goals, and figuring out how we're going to be dynamic. And I think I'm actually really proud of myself this year for only having a couple evenings like this when we did our last video, and a few handful of calls with one specific client who's also a mom and was busy during the day. Like, I have not really let work creep into the evenings. Like, right. That last nap session, like, that's it for the day. Like, maybe like, you're in doing your teeth, like you're taking a shower. I'm out here just in my pajamas, like answering comments on YouTube. But like, that's been the max, and it hasn't impacted our time. But I think we've even talked about how we might have to restructure and have like a designated weeknight for me to get stuff done, as she is just more active and awake during the day and I have less work time. And maybe it is me just saying like, hey, grandma moved a mile away, so why doesn't baby girl hang out with grandma on a Saturday morning, and you can have your you time and I can have my writing time, and we'll figure that out as things progress. Grandma, if you're watching, get ready for it. So yeah, kind of like thinking about how I can just constantly be reevaluating that, because the time demands are going to be constantly changing. So that was one thing. And then I had, what do I need to learn to get to this finish line? So knowing like I signed up for the info stack, there's a lot of really great courses in there that I want to continue to take. And I think that's something I'm always falling back on when I feel like I need to grow. Like I'm maxed out at this level, like to level up, I need to do something else. It's always like, well, what can I be learning? And then I always find really good growth there. So I'm glad I'm taking the time to like look at that one course, and it's like, I know I'm going to get something from this, even if at the beginning I'm like, I don't have time. Like, it always works. And then the next question I ruminated on as I was looking at this was, what can I outsource and when? And writing down in all caps, it's okay to ask for help. Because I know we've talked about what for the business to outsource, but I think that's also spilled into some of our personal questions for like, well, would it actually be better to outsource some other things for our life, whether it's cooking or cleaning or childcare and things like that. And right now the answer is no to all of those. But knowing like we're going to continue to have those discussions and see what fits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was actually just writing down outsourcing just as you mentioned that, because I was just thinking about what investments you could be making into the business. One of it's just general advertising. How much advertising do you put into your fiction books, your nonfiction books? Number two is outsourcing, as you just mentioned. But of all the things you talked about, the AYA books, your personal books, your fiction books, that's all you. So it's only related to the business aspects that maybe could be outsourced.
Yeah.
And then coaching is a third potential investment option of, who else is 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of you who might be able to then take you to that next level that much quicker, just as you're helping others do.
Well, there's the mastermind I'm signing up for on January 1st because I want to maximize the month. I was like, I'm going to sign up. And I was like, I'm not signing up the last 2 weeks of December, because if I was running a mastermind, I'd be like, bye, I'll see you in the new year. So I'm just going to sign up on Saturday, January 1st. So yes, that's part of the coaching where like I am looking for that, and we'll see how it goes. And if after a couple months I feel like it's not there, I'm still connecting with that one community that was put together on Saturdays. The past couple Saturdays I missed because I had consults, which I was fine with. But then I feel like I'm a little disconnected there, so I'll still be there too. So like I don't want to overextend myself with too many connections and networking things, because I think that can be a trap too. But I think, one that kind of focuses on author YouTube stuff and one that more focuses on like author business, building the fiction brand, I think that would really answer for what I'm needing right now. As far as outsourcing, like we did outsource a bit more this year because I started working with formatted books to do the interiors and now even exteriors for books. And that's just like, that stuff I don't even have to think about. I'm like, you send it to me when it's done.
Right.
I got a million other things to do. See you later. So that's been really great. And I think that's also one of the things, like tying in the lines of business. Like I didn't even talk about like affiliates and sponsorships, but I think that's going to naturally flow into YouTube. And thankfully it's grown organically, or like I'm only recommending companies I've worked with that I genuinely like, and like, don't tell them, but I would recommend their products without the commission. Anyways, but it's nice to get a little kickback because it helps to like fuel the channel, fuel my time and things like that. Right. So, so working with formatted books was outsourcing. So that was helpful. So we'll figure things out. I tried out that one software, and I'm actually not doing the video on it. I hope they can get some kinks worked out. It's like in an alpha, and that's not even beta. It's in alpha right now. And it was a really awesome concept for a company for audiobook narrating and editing, and it would all be done in one. I was like, this is so exciting. And they were just out of phase where they just have too many bugs. So I'm hoping by the time I have to record the next audiobook, they'll be further along and I can give them a try again. A really great team. So I'm hoping to be able to try it, and that would be an awesome way to continue to outsource just once those bugs get fixed. So
how to use technology to make your business more efficient, except for Facebook apparently.
Seriously, whatever they did for how you schedule content on Facebook and Instagram, it makes me, and I sound like an old lady, but like it used to be so much simpler, and they changed the interface, and I can find nothing now. None of it's intuitive. Before I could be like, what's scheduled? Oh, okay. I already have something scheduled today. Don't schedule another post for that day. Don't you do it. And now I'm like, I can't, it makes no sense. I hate it. Go back to the old way. Okay.
Soapbox.
I sound like such an old lady and a curmudgeon, but like whatever they did, it's horrible. Okay.
All right, got that off of your.
Yeah,
Moving on.
No, because I posted before, like, or we've done this video before about how like I need to get social media stuff scheduled. They're like, oh, you can schedule it in there. I'm like, I know, I can use the free thing on Facebook. It sucks. Okay. What else did you have? That's what I had. What did you have?
Okay, I have something more loofy, more kind of up in the air type of a thing, more of just the words that we use. And how much do we talk about balance? Balance. And now that we have a 1-year-old or 13-month-old, I think of like the playground. I think of the teeter-totter, right? You're going up and down, and you're always like never central, never focused. There's gravity's pulling you down. You've got a force on the other side that's pushing you up. So like there's no balance there at all. It's just this constant motion. But then there's harmony. And I like the word harmony so much more. So I think of that little spinner on the playground. So there's like 4 different sections on the spinner. And then, but they're all moving together in unison in one fluid motion. And so we only talked about really like the financial and the professional aspects. So I think there's really 4 kind of spokes that we need to focus on. So you got the professional and the work, which was the core focus here, relationships, health, mental, physical, spiritual, and then the finances to me being the 4th one. Because if you're off on any of those 4 spokes, then your whole life just isn't meaning as much.
Exactly.
So I just want to get a little more loose with harmony and kind of get rid of the balance, because there is no balance. Like work is always demanding, and other things, everything is just always demand. So how do you find that harmony? With those 4 different kind of key aspects, and give yourself permission to maybe take your foot off the gas and whatever else it might be. So that's just kind of what I want to just mention, is just a high level of make sure you have harmony in your life. So yes.
Okay, so first of all, I love this metaphor. It's awesome. This is awesome. I wish you had shared this with me earlier. This is so great. I'm like, hearing this for the first time. I'm like, this is really good. Do you want to write a book?
I might write a book if you can help me. Then maybe I'll write a book.
Okay, we'll write a book. If you guys want us to write a book together, let us know. It's not on the list for this year. Not money. But yeah, no,
January 1st, 2024.
Right.
Is that 2022? 2023? 2024. My goodness.
Anyways, but yeah, no, I like that. And like, I think even earlier today when we were like, I was like, oh, we're going to film this. I'm like, it's just going to be about business. Like, I have to think of my personal goals for like next year. Like, if you can't tell, we're goal-oriented people. Like we, I've talked before on this channel about like things like that. We have our financial goals. We're really aggressive about those. Like we have this business and career goals, and we will set like personal, like interpersonal health and relationship goals as well. But I do agree that like, I think to a certain extent, we've been in harmony this past year as best as we can be. We've had obviously certain restrictions, and trying to keep baby girl healthy and everything. But I think we've been in harmony. I think that's what's worked so well. We're like, we don't want things to change because it is working, but like she just doesn't need as much sleep during the day anymore. And so that is going to force things to change, and knowing that there'll be these mini seasons of being out of that harmony, then we'll find our way back. I think I've done a fairly good job with like the health and the relation. I'd say I've done a really good job with the health. I've done it with our relationship, and like knowing the core relationships are like with you and baby girl. Like those are the 2 that matter the most. But I have let a lot of other relationships just fall to the wayside because at the end of the day, I just don't have the energy. And it's not that much effort to just send a text like, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? But like at the end of the day, when I feel like I've been pulled in a million directions, like I get a text from somebody and it'll like, I will sit on it for a week before I respond. I'm just like, oh yeah, I totally forgot. And like, I hate being that person. And it's like, should I be surprised when like friendships have withered and like things have fallen off, and like I feel bad about it, but yeah, so I need to work on that part. That's not for this channel.
That's not for this channel. Right.
Channel. Yeah. So yeah, but I do agree that like, I think that's something I've let fall to the wayside because my energy's been in so many different places, and that's where I'm happy to have just a few key things to focus on this year instead of everything. Because 2021 was just everything.
Right. So many clients.
Too many clients.
Right.
Had some amazing books come out. They're all great. I'm glad these books exist in the world now. But it was a lot. And it's so funny. Every single one's like, I don't know how you're doing it all. I'm like, I'm not. I'm literally going bananas. Like, who am I? Stop. Yeah.
Talk to the hand.
Talk to the hand.
Man, that's old school. Talk about old.
We're so
Talk
old.
about old.
We're so
I brought that
old.
out. All right, so you have your roadmap for the year.
Yes.
So you have your vision came into a roadmap. The roadmap is set with monthly sections by the different sources and what you want to produce.
What am I creating? What am I refining? What am I shipping? Yeah.
So then what is your weekly? Do you have a weekly check-in? Do we have a monthly check-in? How are you going to then go about the execution and making sure you stay on track?
That's a great question, Jason. I hadn't thought about that until this moment when you're asking me. So my thought is, obviously we're going to keep doing our weekly check-ins, but we were even saying, like, I used to break it down by buckets of like, my biggest client, all my other clients, my stuff, and like kind of working through like what did I do this past week, what's coming up. And I think maybe what we'll do is we'll kind of refine those discussions of like, okay, are you focusing on the things you said you would do? Are you going to be disappointed at the end of the year if XYZ isn't done, if you don't get it together this week? Are you setting the habits you need to set? I think we just need to refine those questions so we can get back into that groove to make sure those things happen. But yeah, I think we'll still do our weekly check-ins. I think at the end of each month might be a good time to check on things as far as like, okay, I said this would be done this month. It's going to be done this month, or is it going to be like halfway in the next month? Because there were some things that I did have flowing into multiple months. Like I said, like certain drafts for like new books, I was like, that's going to take me more than a month, knowing the amount of time I have. Like before I probably could have knocked it out in a month. Now I probably need longer, and things like that. So yeah. So we'll refer back to this. I'll put this on a nicer chart maybe. We can go back to it. I could do Post-it.
I was surprised there weren't Post-its with this. Color-coordinated Post-its. There's one Post-it. One.
For now.
One.
For now, it is in a notebook. It can be in Post-it form. I will make it a Post-it form. Okay.
Take it away.
That's it? That's all you got?
That's all I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel really solid about this, and I hope for anybody watching, my goals should not be your goals, but I definitely would challenge you to say, like, write down what are the big buckets, right? So I was talking about my big buckets for my books and this channel, and then having like a smaller bucket that I'm going to finish off, and then that bucket's gonna go away. It's just not going to be as big. It's going to be more like a Tupperware. It's going to be a bucket. It's going to be a little Tupperware. And so within those buckets, what are the things that need to get done? And then, okay, those are the big projects. When are they going to happen? And breaking it down by month as far as what am I creating, what am I refining or revising, and then what am I shipping? And I could have something in each bucket, each of those like categories of creating, refining, or shipping each month. Some months I just have something in creating. Some months I just have things in revising and shipping because I expect that my creative well will be a little empty. So I really would challenge you to kind of think about the year that way, and don't fill it. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy, like 10 things. Like some of my months I said like had one thing on it for like creating, and one thing for revising, and one thing for shipping. And now I'm looking, I'm like, oh, that's a lot in 1 month. A lot. Especially when I have this limited amount of time. If you know you have more time, do it up. But I would definitely encourage you to continue to come back to it. Like, we're talking about our plan for like going back and having those weekly, those monthly check-ins. And we also really like talking about the business together. So like maybe your partner at home it's not their jam. Find somebody who can be like an author buddy, who can kind of have those check-ins with you, and you can hold each other accountable, and kind of challenge each other and push each other in positive ways, to keep growing and learning. Because that's the thing with this author business. You're never done. You're never set. Like, keep going, keep refining it. And then again, ask yourself those questions of like, what's realistic? What do you think you can do? Like, don't set yourself up for a big disappointment at the end of the year, but also like, what would you genuinely be disappointed if you did not get done this year? And maybe just focus on like that one, maybe two things, and then focus on consistency. That's one thing where there's so many shiny objects, and like I can fall prey to it too sometimes. There's so many shiny objects as an author of things that we should be doing or should be chasing, or we should do this course, or we should spend thousands on these ads or whatever. But really it's just be consistent before you try to add on more, before you try to scale. And then, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to outsource certain tasks. Whether it's in your business or maybe it's in your personal life, so you can spend more time on your business. Like, you cannot do it all. And I need to say that to myself more. Like, you cannot do it all. And so it's figuring out where you're going to get that help. So.
And when you're trying to develop and hone those relationships with others, what value can you add to them?
It always comes back to value. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That's important too, but also everybody's thinking about what's in it for me. Like, so what's in it for your audience? What value are you offering, to be able to build that business? So, yeah.
And so I'll try to ask you every week too, what challenges are you currently facing that I can help with?
Okay.
And so that'll be something that I'll try to do to see what I can do to help. And also for the audience, what challenges are you having that MK could help with.
Yeah, let me know. That way I can keep providing different videos. You know, when we did this for the first video, the mid-year check-in 2021, I was like, we'll see what people say. Like, it's something I really wanted to do. And I was pleasantly surprised by the feedback of wanting to see more content like this. And I was like, they want to see more businessy stuff. And I like to talk about the businessy stuff. Yeah. But if you're sick of this and you hate the businessy stuff, let me know. And I'll tell you what's up. No, I'm joking. You know, let me know. And I can obviously, you know, I like to refine what I'm offering. I'm still going to be true to me and true to my journey, but I can definitely shift my focus on some videos if there's a different demand that needs to be met. So.
And there's a membership that's focused on the business.
That's true. There is. Look at you, Mr.
Plug.
I
Mr.
haven't
Plug.
paid him to say any of this at all.
It's
I have
true.
not.
It's true.
He is not compensated.
Maybe there's like an affiliate relationship as a husband-wife combo.
Yeah. There's
rings.
there's muffins out there if you want some muffins.
She didn't make the muffins.
I didn't even make the muffins. I didn't even make them. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. And in the comments below, like, let me know what are some of your big goals that you've set for 2022. What are the things that you say, if I don't get this done, I will be disappointed. This is going to be my main focus. That's kind of a negative way to turn it, but it's true to yourself and like what you feel like you need. You know, let me know your thoughts on, you know, how you've been planning, what you're doing. Are you watching this in June and finally setting your goals? Good for you. Let me know in the comments below. I want to keep hearing from you guys. And now you can get back to writing your book. Bye. Yay.